Jumbo Kenya! Hey everyone, we are brave and beautiful. We are so excited to be back home on home soil from Nairobi, Kenya. We actually just got back 2 weeks ago, and the Lord has placed on our hearts just such a unique message for our generation that we really wanted to share with you guys in this video. And so we hope that you guys can subscribe and share this video with your friends at home, because what we think the Lord has placed on our heart is so important for our generation. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll start. I want to recap a little bit about Pastor Dennis and his church, Nairobi International Church in Kenya. We actually, I think on our prior trips, we've kind of had a contact from the U.S., and so we got to go to different churches, but this time we had our contact with Pastor Dennis from Kenya. So we got to really invest in his church and his people at his church, his family, and that was something so impactful for me, because I mean, just getting to know them, getting to know their hearts, getting to know their culture and how they live so radically for Jesus was just very eye-opening, because that's something we don't, see on an everyday basis in America. So just their culture and how they literally live, eat, breathe Jesus and God every day. Like Bibles at breakfast, Bibles at lunch, like they speak the word in every sentence. Like they're just so radical is just the word that I keep thinking of from this trip. So it just taught a lot. It taught us a lot. So we can't thank Pastor Dennis and his church enough, and just his ability to disciple people, to mentor people, and that has taught us how to come back to America and hopefully be able to do the same to people and invest our time in the word and not distractions of the world that are so easy to run into in the U.S. So it was very mind-opening to have a lifestyle that's chasing after Jesus every second of the day, not just when it's convenient for you, like in the U.S. and our culture. So I think that was the biggest thing, is living radical. And they lived radical like 1,000%. So now coming back to the U.S. and going back to school soon, I have a new motivation to live radical in every aspect of my life, I think.
What do you think that means for us, here? How do we live radically here? I feel like in Africa, there were so many less distractions. So to live radically, it was a little bit, they had such more of a simple lifestyle. So it was a lot, I guess you had a lot more freedom to live radically and, not be so distracted by little things like your phone or, social media was a big thing. Other things, people that your friends from the U.S., we just had each other. So it was just a lot easier just to define what radical is, but how would we define what radical is here? Because we've run into, ever since being back from Kenya, there's been some battles with that, I feel like.
It's hard too, because not everyone saw what we saw in Kenya, so it's hard to describe it. But I think for us, coming back and trying to live radical, it's going to take a wholehearted commitment. It's not going to be I'm just going to try to live radical. It's going to be legit training ourselves and readjusting our schedule day to day to wake up in the morning, not grab our phone, but grab the Bible, and then get to breakfast and see the food on our table and be like, thank you, Jesus, for this food. It's going to take those cognizant moments of thanking God and thinking about those things that you don't think about when you have breakfast every morning, and you don't have to think twice about it.
Right. It's seeing Jesus in everything, and that's what we notice about these Kenyan people. I mean, I know, Michaela, could you probably speak into that?
No, absolutely. I think to go off what Maddie was saying as well, when you live radical and when you live differently for the Lord, it's not a watered down Christianity. It's not, okay, well, I'll just go and get my Sunday fill, and then after that I'm done. It's literally making Jesus a priority, a number one priority in your life. And that's what we saw at Nairobi International Church, was those people, they eat, breathe, sleep Jesus, and it made such a difference in their life. They had pure joy, because the Lord is the only source of that joy. They didn't find it anywhere else. They didn't find it from likes on social media. They didn't find it from a massive resume and a job offer. They didn't find it in a
their
relationship.
School, their titles.
No, it just simply was from the Lord. And so that was so humbling because we just have distraction after distraction here in the United States. And I mean, not even in the United States. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
Social media is everywhere. That hinders us from literally pursuing the Lord the way we need to pursue. And so that was a really big lesson Jesus has taught me.
It's funny because I remember so many times that like when we first got to Kenya, I guess it was a little bit of a culture shock for us just in terms of like the way that they did things. I mean, even when it came to just praying before each meal, like that was something that we just would forget. You know, we'd just start eating.
We're just so hungry.
And then, you know, Pastor Dennis would just kind of be like,
excuse me.
Yeah,
it's like,
let us pray. We just and no, but we forget those things, and it's just like his intentionality with being just like always. What's the one thing that they said before they started any sentence? They would say, "Praise God." Praise God.
Amen. Amen. Praise God again.
Amen. And you know what that showed me was that they were intentional about having Jesus be the center focus before they even say anything at all.
Yeah.
So I loved that.
A very big reverence for the Lord. They feared God. Like God is so big to them, and they owe him everything. Like that's just their mentality. And I feel like in some ways in America and or in our culture, like God is God and he's big, but he can seem so small sometimes. But for them, God is big all the time, and he's not even big.
He's just as indescribable.
They just adore him. They will give up everything they have, and they don't even have very much. You know, so
and it's crazy too because even growing up, we always said, okay, Jesus number 1, others number 2, myself number 3.
But
so our culture has completely flipped that to where we put ourselves, others, and then the Lord at the very end. And so going to Kenya and seeing they actually serve others before they serve themselves is an amazing thing that we have completely lost. Is how many times do we wake up in the morning and say, you know what, how can I serve this person today? What can I do for this person that is going to help them and is going to bless them? And so many times we're just trying to better ourselves. We're trying to one up other people. We're trying to build our resume. Trying to build our resume. My mom had this line, and it was like, we're trying to make other people want our own lives. And it's like, why do we do that? We have literally become a self-consumed selfie, if you can say, generation. And it's just sad because that's not what the Lord has for us. The Lord wants us to serve others before we serve ourselves. And Pastor Dennis just literally in the 2 weeks we were there was constantly serving us, pouring into us, discipling us in the Word. And that was just so humbling to be like, what if I did that to the relationships that I have every single day? What if every single day I was pouring into them the way Pastor Dennis poured into us? Like my relationship would be so genuine and so deep and so intimate, the way the Lord has created us to be on this earth. And so that was just an amazing thing.
I think it's funny because maybe sometimes we get this fear that we don't necessarily say out loud. Like if I stop caring for myself and I lose, if I stop pouring into, my Instagram posts or whatever, then all of a sudden I'll start losing myself. But really, when you saw Pastor Dennis living so selflessly for us, you saw that he was always 100%. He was always content. There was nothing ever he putting others before yourself is actually the way God designed that with so much purpose. And when you really live that out, you feel it feels right. It just feels right. It falls into place. And really putting others before yourself when you're second, you guys know what I'm trying to say. It feels right.
Every morning he would wake up and we'd be like, how are you? He's better than yesterday. Every day. And that
because he's just filled. He's filled with the Spirit. He's filled with serving others.
High on Jesus all the time.
Oh, yeah. I'll never forget one thing. I'm taking a leadership class right now, and I just, whenever I talk about a servant's heart, I always think of this small memory, and Pastor Dennis lives on a street where he's the only one on the street with a car. And I just remember him one time saying, I don't really drive a lot. I just like to walk and be, one with the community. I like to be with them. I don't like to just drive past them. And that was just, so mind-blowing to me because little things that we don't think about, just driving to work and like, I don't know, I just would never have thought of like, let me leave my car and like drive and like walk with the rest of the neighborhood today. Like, it was just so mind-blowing that he's willing and passionate enough to take himself off of that like little blessing that he has a car, but he's willing to take himself below that and be one with the people around him.
And that's so Jesus. Like, that's so Jesus. And, you know, our ultimate goal in life is like, God, make me more like you. God, make me more like your son, Jesus. It's like, we saw that so lived out in his life that, you know, it put fire under our butt, for sure.
We just want to encourage you guys, just with everything that we have learned, that we want what we saw in Nairobi International Church and in Kenya for our generation, and we want to bring these messages not to condemn our not to condemn our friends or condemn the people that we live with, but simply to encourage us and say, like, if they can do it, so can we.
Right.
If they can eliminate distractions and fully make Jesus number one, then so can we. And so we hope that you guys got something out of this, and we can't wait to do the next one. The Lord has simply changed our lives from going on this trip, and so we hope that we can share this message with you, and we're so excited.
I can't wait.
Love you guys.
Love you.
Bye.